guys, T-Rex here, and back for my hypothetical Nintendo Cinematic Universe. The past two videos before this one, I talked about the Super Mario Bros. Movie I had in mind, and then the last one I posted was the Legend of Zelda movie that I had in mind. Today, we will be covering the first Metroid movie. Got the characters, got the setting, and we got the plot points for you guys. But damn, we got spoilers, just letting you guys know that. But without further ado, let's just get going. So for the characters, we got Samus, Ridley, Adam Malkovich, Baby Metroid, Rodney Aaron, Virginia Aaron, Old Bird, and SA-X. That's SA-X. The setting will be Zebes K2L SR388, the Ceres Space Colony, and Ceres the Planet, that is right next to the space station. Let me just make some stuff clear. Since this is an adaptation and will probably be a set of different stories merged together, it won't be exactly like the games. So you guys aren't like, beep, 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 beep. Shush. Anyways, everyone, now for the plot points. So it starts off with a little bit of origin, alright? It starts with a spaceship flying to the planet K2L, which is like the closest thing to Earth as it is in this particular universe. Inside this ship is a mother and father, and they're carrying their young daughter, who is deathly ill. Not an infant or even a toddler. She's young, but she's like kind of like first grade, second grade level, kind of around that age group. The mother's name is Virginia, and the father's name is Rodney. Virginia is a soldier in the Galactic Federation, and Rodney serves as a scientist with them, who works at the little space station. They land next to a cabin near the mining colony, revealing the child's name to be Samus. So how did we get here? Why is child Samus deathly ill? Well, it occurs during this flashback scene. What happened was the parents were exploring the planet SR388, which is home of the Metroids and some ex-parasites, and they took Samus with her. It was when Samus kind of wandered off away from her parents, kind of did her own thing, when she encountered an ex-parasite that leached itself onto her, attempting to merge with her DNA. So that's how that happened. Samus is deathly ill because she kind of absorbed this ex-parasite on SR388. They make it to the cabin, where the father sets Samus up in his lab, and he starts his treatment. Rodney looks down upon child Samus, where he tells her everything will be okay. And now we're taken to the present day. I went in timeline order for the past movie, but this one, it's just gonna go in movie order, because flashbacks in real world time aren't as extreme as they were in the Legend of Zelda movie. So now it is revealing a galactic bounty hunter wearing an orange power suit that walks to her spaceship and prepares for takeoff. The spaceship matches the bounty hunter's suit's kind of certain shade of orange, and it has a plaque outside the ship with the name Samus Aran, revealing the bounty hunter to be a grown-up Samus. Samus leaves the base that she came out of in her spacecraft, and she speeds off into outer space. After a moment of exploring her ship and watching her do her thing, just kind of pilot stuff, she lands on the planet SR388, which I mentioned earlier is inhabited by Metroids and the ex-parasite. She looks around and she finds a bunch, like a lot, of Metroid corpses all around her. Samus approaches one of the dead Metroids, taking a device and analyzing its DNA for research purposes. Doing it for a friend, basically. All of a sudden, she hears a cry from inside a nearby cave. She instinctively gets her blaster out, like on one of her arm cannons, and she slowly approaches the cave. She walks inside and sees a Metroid egg, and a creature struggling to get out of the egg. She keeps a close eye on the egg from a distance, not taking any chances. The creature breaks free of the egg, and it floats in the air, and it's revealed to be the baby Metroid. This guy right here. It approaches Samus and kind of floats around her for a bit. Something's weird though. The Metroid doesn't immediately attack her like most Metroids would, or the more hostile Metroids. Not every Metroid in this universe is hostile. Not in this cinematic universe. Samus realizes that this creature will not harm her, and she starts to leave when she realizes that this thing is following her. This thing just hatched, so now I think Samus is its mama. So she decides to let the baby Metroid join her. As they leave, there is a tiny speck of yellow that grows to be an ex-parasite, the same kind that fused with Samus when she was a child. This is as Samus and the baby Metroid are leaving. So once Samus has finished up her business there, they return back to the Ceres planet. She took her spacecraft back there with the baby Metroid that she has kind of adopted. Ceres itself is a very flourishing planet with a ton of technological advancements. It's like a futuristic city, kind of like that. So for the first time throughout the movie, Samus takes off her helmet, and then it's revealed that she is indeed grown-up Samus. Alright, this is Samus without a helmet now. So she lands her ship on a dock where maintenance crew approach it, and now they're working on any like damages to it, and they're filling it up with gas. So by this point, Samus's power suit is fully off now, and she visits a nearby hospital, and she's taken the baby Metroid with her. Her friend is a nurse at the hospital, and her and Samus reunite. Samus explains that she found this Metroid on her latest mission, and that she was just stopping here for gas before she takes it to the Ceres space colony. That's kind of a little bit of an explanation why she came here first instead of the Ceres space station. We're gonna find out why she even went to SR388 here in a moment. So Samus and the baby Metroid leave the planet Ceres, and then they go to the Ceres space station, which is just kind of its own little satellite just outside the planet. And this space colony, it serves as the Galactic Research Station, which is something her father did when he was a scientist there. So she lands and she approaches the chief of the research colony, Adam Malkovich, who is also the commanding officer of the Galactic Space Federation. Samus explains that he was right about a massacre occurring on SR388, and that this baby Metroid was the sole survivor. She says she couldn't figure out how or why the massacre happened, but that she was able to get DNA samples from the Metroids, and the scientists could find out more information by studying the baby Metroid that she brought. So that's why she went there in the first place. There was word of a massacre occurring on SR388, and when she went there, it was confirmed that indeed a bunch of Metroids got killed by some unknown entity. So after they're talking about the mission a little bit, Adam mentions that he regrets that Samus left the Federation, but was glad to still be working with her after he promised to end the Omega Metroid experiment. He commends her for her good deeds, and that even though she left the Galactic Federation Space Force, she's still doing good for Ceres even as a bounty hunter. That explains what Samus does. She explains that it's what her parents would have wanted, and that they loved serving Ceres. So now we are back at the flashback. Back to when Rodney Aaron is working on deathly ill child Samus back in his lab. During Samus's procedure, Rodney gives Samus a special medicine that he found on SR388 and gives it to her. Samus protests that he was going to save it for the Metroids, but Rodney assures her that keeping his child was more important. After the procedure is done, Rodney is dumbfounded to find out that the X-Parasites that leached out Samus have bonded with Samus's cells, and that there ended up being no threat to her life with the help of the SR388 medicine. The next day, Ronnie's still amazed that Samus ended up being okay, and they celebrate the miracle of Samus surviving bonding her DNA with X-Parasite DNA. But that night, the space pirates ambushed the cabin where Ridley, a monstrous dragon-like creature, the commander of the space pirates, is introduced. The parents see them coming and prepare to defend themselves. Virginia puts on the power suit that was created by the Chozo, and it's the same suit that Samus now wears as an adult. Again, this is a flashback. The pirates show up at their front door, and Virginia guards the inside with Rodney and Samus behind her. The pirates use a laser gun to bust open the front door, and Virginia opens fire at the pirates at the front door. Ridley laughs and speed blitzes inside the house, breaking more of their property. He chokes Virginia, and he yeets her, absolutely tosses her out of the house. He then approaches Samus and Rodney and tells his space pirate subordinates to round them up. Samus, Rodney, and Virginia are tied up outside of their home with Ridley interrogating them. He says they're here because Virginia and Rodney stole something from SR388 and that they're getting resources from K2L while they're here. Remember the mining colony? Yeah, they're after resources from there too. After he's done talking, Virginia frees herself and she kills all of the space pirates there except for Ridley. Ridley's face is shown smiling while she's killing the space pirates. It doesn't show her killing the space pirates, but that's on purpose. We'll get back to that later in the saga. He admires her for her bravery, and then Ridley targets child Samus, asking her if she has enough energy to save her kid. He shoots a large fire blast from his mouth at Samus, but Virginia steps in and takes the hit for her, saving Samus. Rodney is devastated, and Ridley kills him with his deadly tail. Child Samus is sobbing. She looks up at Ridley, who is towering over her. Ridley is a tall dude. He explains that he knew that her mother would step in, because nobility and heroism is predictable. He tells her that he'll spare her, so one day she can challenge him fairly. And then Ridley leaves the now orphaned child Samus with her dead parents, and he heads for the mining colony. Samus towers over her mother, and then with Virginia's dying breath, she tells her to take the power suit and find the Chozo. After a while, Samus buries her parents and stays at the cabin where they were staying in when a member of the Chozo, Old Bird, approaches the cabin. Samus meets Old Bird, and he offers to bring her to their home planet, Zebes. Zebes? I'm just gonna call it Zebes. On his ship on the way to Zebes, Old Bird explains a bit about the Chozo and how they were originally from SR388. They created the Metroids to combat the X-Parasites, which he heard had bonded with Samus, that were infesting their home. He then explains that after a while, they couldn't contain the Metroid numbers, and the Metroids and X-Parasites infesting the planet caused the Chozo tribe to just leave the planet altogether and take refuge on the planet Zebes. He tells her that this is one of the bases of the space pirates, and have been able to live there in secret without the space pirates knowing of their existence there. He also explains that the Chozo tribe raised Samus's mother as well, and they were the ones who created their power suit that Samus brought with her. They had to combine Chozo DNA into Virginia's blood so she could adapt to the harsh Zebes environment, and that they might have to do that too, which Samus says that won't be necessary. They land on Zebes, and Old Bird is amazed that Samus could adapt so well to Zebes' environment. So she gives the power suit to the chief scientist, and Old Bird takes Samus under his wing and he raises her on Zebes. So after several years, a teenage Samus is seen training in her new and improved power suit that she ends up wearing as an adult. She joins the Galactic Federation in the same position as her mother and meets Adam Malkovich, her commanding officer. Samus joins the 07th Platoon, and she gets treated harshly within it by her team and Adam for being a woman, referring to her as an outsider. So they very much underestimate Samus. One day, they get a distress signal, codenamed Baby's Cry, from a deactivated Federation space station called the Bottle Ship, and Adam sends the 07th Platoon to investigate. They don't know who sent the signal for help, and since this is Samus's first mission, the team pressures her like a lot. When they get there, the 07th Platoon, they spend some time investigating. They're searching for the one who sent the Baby's Cry signal. They discover that this was an old Space Federation research station that got deactivated due to illegal experiments on Omega Metroids going awry and forcing everyone to evacuate the shuttle indefinitely. The scientists of the 07th Platoon, they're kind of like the Bad Batch from Star Wars, but they're all jerks. So yeah, the scientist of the 07th Platoon, he tries to replay the signal because it's sketchy, but it goes out, realizing that they walked into a trap. All of a sudden, the Omega Metroid, the Brug Mass, appears and attacks the 07th Platoon. Keep in mind, this is all a flashback. This is before the Baby Metroid thing, leading to an intense battle between the Platoon and the monster. They come to find that this Metroid is a combined set of tiny Brugs that have bonded together to create this beast. It faintly replays the Baby's Cry signal again, coming to realize that this was all an attempt to lure in the Federation. Eventually, when they got this guy down, the Brug Mass causes a self-destruct initiation, and Adam can see what's going on from the space station through their body cams. So, for Samus's first mission, it's going pretty well, and she's able to keep up with everybody. They eventually pin the Brug Mass down, and Samus bombards the beast with missiles, escaping from the bottle ship in time before it explodes. Once they return to the Sirius space station, that is when Adam and the 07th Platoon come to respect Samus and acknowledge her for her good work. Now back to the present. So now in the current timeline, Samus assures the Baby Metroid's safety in Adam and the scientist's hands and leaves the base. As she leaves, a space pirate ship approaches the space colony. Samus hears an explosion in the distance in her ship and receives a distress signal from the scientist. They explain that someone blew a hole into the colony and have infiltrated the base. Samus turns around and lands on the colony again, rushing inside the research station. The inside of this station is a wreck, and Samus explores the base. She finds a scientist stuck under some debris and helps get him free. She asks the scientist where the Baby Metroid and Adam are. He says he doesn't know where Adam went, but the Baby Metroid got transferred to the medical wing. When she goes into the medical wing, it's dark and abandoned. Ridley shows up again, landing in front of her with a powerful impact. Samus is filled with rage to see her parents kill her, and not only that, Ridley is holding the Baby Metroid hostage. Keep in mind, in this movie, Ridley is not a Metroid. He probably is in the games, that part I don't know, but in this movie, he's just his own creature. He's not a Metroid. But because Samus is in her power suit, Ridley doesn't know that it's Samus, and when she reveals that he killed her parents, he remembers and laughs. Brother is a psychopath. He explains that he looked forward to this, and the two fight. After they fight, Ridley gains the upper hand and knocks Samus away again, escaping the Sirius space colony with the Baby Metroid, but not before Samus puts a tracker on Ridley. She struggles to get up, and Adam rushes into the medical wing to help Samus up. Samus explains that she put a tracker on Ridley, and that Ridley is heading to Zebes. She tells Adam to get on an escape pod and go back to the planet Ceres until Samus gets the Baby Metroid back. He tries to object and go with Samus, but Samus assures him that she will bring the Baby Metroid back. So Adam goes to the planet Ceres, and Samus goes to Zebes. When she gets there, she goes into a cave. Ridley descends to the bottom of the cave, where he meets an unknown figure enclosed in a reinforced glass case. The figure stays hidden, but Ridley acknowledges that he is speaking with Mother Brain, the leader of the space pirates, and the most powerful Metroid of all time. So not only is she a Metroid, she is also the leader of the space pirates. She asks Ridley if the massacre of the Metroids has been completed, and he confirms it. So even though she's a Metroid, she helped authorize the murder of the Metroids on SR-388. Adam is on Ceres and he's worried about Samus. He returns to the Ceres space station and he goes to the medical station where the Baby Metroid originally was. He logs onto a computer and he looks at the database of all the different regular Metroids that the space station had in their possession. He searches for the normal Metroids within the database, but he ends up not finding the Baby Metroid. He then searches for Omega Metroids in their database and only one result shows up: the baby Metroid. The baby Metroid is an Omega Metroid in this movie. So after this, he has another flashback to when Samus left the Federation. So in the flashback, Samus goes to the Ceres space station after a mission to report back to Adam, who was her boss and commanding officer at the time. She sees that Adam was not in his usual workplace, so she goes off to look for him when she notices the restricted section of the facility labeled Omega. She starts to turn back when she hears an alien cry coming from the restricted section. She looks around for anybody and waits by the entrance where she is not seen. A scientist exits the door and Samus sneaks in the restricted section before the door closes because she does not have authorization to be in this section. She goes in and to her horror sees 3 different Metroids going through intense research and they're pretty much being tortured. She looks at one of the researchers who is Adam, the one running the experiments. She demands to know what they're doing. Adam tries to explain, but Samus storms out of the section. Adam tries to follow her, but Samus pushes him away. With that, she leaves the Space Federation. Flashback over, back to current timeline. The Mother Brain commends Ridley for successfully extracting the baby Metroid from the research facility and starts to explain to Ridley the purpose of the baby Metroid. When she notices the tracker that is on Ridley, Ridley is frustrated and apologizes to Mother Brain for allowing Samus to follow him here and then departs from her. Samus makes it to an abandoned laboratory. Deep into the depths of Zebes, she sees a Chozo statue, wondering why there are signs of the Chozo on Zebes, especially in this underground facility. Her tracker beeps, indicating that there is an entity on her radar approaching her rapidly. Ridley breaks through the wall and pins Samus down onto the ground. Ridley then destroys the tracker Samus put on him. Struggling, Samus demands to know where the baby Metroid is. Ridley refuses to tell her, and he throws her through another wall, telling her to have fun with his special friend. Samus falls through multiple floors and lands on a dirt-like surface surrounded by hot acid. A giant crocodile-like creature, Kraid, emerges from the acid and attacks Samus. They fight for a while, and then Samus eventually defeats and kills him. Samus recovers and chases after Ridley once more. She calls Adam on her communications device, and he answers, pausing another call he was currently in. She explains that she lost Ridley with her tracker and wants to know if Adam can track former Metroids that they were researching. He finds the location of the baby Metroid and tells her that the baby Metroid is in kind of a volcanic area called Norfair, and that Ridley is heading there as well to meet up with it. Samus follows the GPS to Norfair and finds Ridley there, having placed the baby Metroid in a pod. Samus pulls out her arm cannon on her power suit and points it at Ridley, slowly approaching him. She asks him what's going on and starts her confrontation with Ridley. Ridley explains that this baby Metroid is an Omega Metroid, which Omega Metroids are capable of absorbing X-parasites, something regular Metroids can't do. In this cinematic universe, Samus remembers as a child her father telling her that Metroids are the only known predators of X-parasites, and that if they're not around, the X-parasite species would expand greatly, like rapidly. Samus then accuses Ridley of being responsible for the massacre of the Metroids that occurred on SR-388 to expand the population of X-parasites. Ridley debunks her theory, but admits that the massacre worked out well for the space pirates because Omega Metroids could occupy SR-388 and absorb the X-parasites, making them stronger, starting with the baby Metroid. He notices that Samus has been shaking while pointing her blaster at Ridley. Ridley teases her, asking if she was never able to get over her traumatic past of her parents being killed. Samus and Ridley fight once again, while the pod lights up with the baby Metroid, powering it up, but also causing it pain. After a while, Samus overpowers Ridley with beams and missiles, all that good stuff, and makes him fall off the ledge into the depths of Norfair. She rescues the baby Metroid and exits Zebes' atmosphere off of her gunship when she remembers Old Bird and the Chozo tribe. That little Chozo statue deep in there kind of reminded her of that. Samus makes sure no one's on her tail, then circles back around to the Chozo tribe on Zebes. She lands in the Chozo village and reunites with Old Bird, the one who raised Samus. They catch up for a while, and Old Bird commends Samus for the person she grew up to be. They get to the topic of SR-388 and the massacre that occurred there. Old Bird seems scared by this news, and Old Bird explains that there is a chance with the Metroids exterminated on SR-388 that the X-parasite population has most likely grown at an exponential rate. Remember the X-parasite I told you guys about at the beginning of this? The single thing that sprouted after Samus and the baby Metroid originally left the planet? She remembers going there when she found the baby Metroid and asks him how long it would take for the X-parasite population to grow. He answers with a few days, maybe less. Samus tells Old Bird that she didn't come into contact with any parasites there, that Old Bird suggests that the massacre might have just happened at the time. As in, before Samus got there, the massacre most likely pretty much just took place. So all of the Metroid corpses that she saw there were fresh. So it was a little bit scary. I told you, man, the tone would get darker throughout the movies. Back down in the Norfair, Ridley caught himself on a ledge, saving him from falling into the lava. And he's catching strength back in his wings in order to escape the ledge and get to a place of safety. He struggles to get up and gets back on his communication device, revealing Adam Malkovich. He angrily confronts Adam about hanging up on him, and Adam assures Ridley that Samus takes a higher priority than him. Remember that call Adam was on earlier before Samus called him? He was talking to Ridley. Ridley accuses him of being responsible for letting Samus get away with the baby Metroid, but Adam tells him that it wasn't his place to steal the baby Metroid in the first place. Ridley reminds him that even though they're working together, his loyalty still lies with Mother Brain, who wanted the baby Metroid now. Adam then hangs up on him. Adam then gets a call from Samus, telling him that she got the baby Metroid back and that they're going to SR-388. When he asks why, Samus tells him that she thinks the Metroid massacre had just happened before she got there because of the lack of parasites showing up. Adam tells her not to go there and that the Galactic Federation will check it out. Samus tells him that there is no time and that the planet is most likely fully infested by now. Adam agrees with her and sends the Galactic Federation army to join her, like a couple platoons, to help her out. Samus gets to SR-388. She looks out in horror as she sees that she was right about the X-Parasite population growing at a devastating rate. She enters the atmosphere of SR-388 and she fires her gunship at different hordes of X-Parasites and is successful at clearing out quite a few of them, when all of a sudden one of Ridley's fireballs hits one of the wings of Samus's gunship, compromising functions within the engine that Ridley just hit. Ridley is revealed with two space pirate cruisers following him. Samus fires at Ridley, but he dodges out of the way, making Samus's blast hit one of the cruisers, destroying it. Samus is able to temporarily keep her ship in the air and turn it around. The other cruiser fires at Samus and she's able to dodge. Ridley rushes over to her ship and lands on it, attempting to break in. Samus does a maneuver to make her front flip, flinging Ridley off of it and crashing into a stone wall, falling into the hordes of X-Parasites that have been gathering on the surface below. The baby Metroid tries to signal to Samus that he has an idea, because this baby Metroid has been with her, like, almost this whole time. The baby Metroid leaves Samus's ship, and it covers the windshield of one of the space pirate cruisers, and then gets off in time for the cruiser to crash into another stone wall, destroying that space cruiser. The baby Metroid then returns to Samus's ship, which cannot stay in the air any longer. The ship crashes through hordes of X-Parasites, where they start kind of surrounding the ship and kind of like covering the gunship full of X-Parasites. It's really quite disturbing. Samus realizes the only way they're going to get out of this mess is if she opens the bay doors and it just rains hell on these X-Parasites. So she does that, she opens the bay door, and Samus gives them large blasts of energy to destroy all of the X-Parasites that try to come into her ship. But at the same time, all she's really doing is holding them off. There's not much one person can do against all of these different little creatures. So when things are looking pretty bleak for Samus, the Galactic Federation arrives in time, and they're rapidly destroying the X-Parasites, saving Samus and the baby Metroid. Troops land on the ground, and they help Samus exterminate as many X-Parasites as they can find. When they get done eradicating all of them in the area, the Federation helps Samus recoup and starts repairs to her ship. But just as she was about to catch a breath, all of a sudden, a different kind of X-Parasite attacks and attaches itself to Samus's power suit, rapidly covering her suit. The Federation frantically tries to detach the parasite off of Samus, but they're unsuccessful. One of the soldiers identifies it as an SAX parasite. Keep that in your minds for trivia night. And another soldier desperately radios Adam back at the Sirius space station. When he hears the news, he frantically searches for the cure. When he finds it, he begs for the cure to work. Ridley forces his way out of the pile of X-Parasites and destroys them with his fire breath. So not only did he survive falling in Norfair, he also survived the X-Parasites. Brother is an absolute unit. But luckily for him, he's kind of out a distance, so no one knows that he's done this. So snarling, he flies off the planet to go somewhere, not being seen by anyone because they're too focused on what's going on with Samus. Adam makes it to SR-388 on his space cruiser. He sprints over to Samus with the cure. The SAX is copying the suit's data and slowly fusing with Samus. Adam tells Samus that this X-Parasite cure is still a prototype and different from the SR-388 cure that Samus's father used on her when she was a child. And he doesn't even know if it'll work, but he says he'll do everything he can to cure Samus and begs her to make it out alive. They have built quite the bond. So now there's another flashback scene. So now Adam has a flashback to before the Galactic Space Federation had a special containment facility dedicated to experimenting on Omega Metroids, with loose Omega Metroids being researched on just like any regular Metroids. So during this flashback, Omega Metroids broke out of their confinements and started destroying everything around them. The Federation, including Samus and Adam, tried to hold them off, but there were too many of them. Way more than 3 in that other flashback. Adam had found a freezing pod and lured the Metroids in there with him. As the Metroids entered the pod, they started dying fairly quickly due to their weakness to the cold. The pod detaches with Adam still inside. Samus sees this and desperately attempts to leave the space station to get to the pod where Adam is. Adam signals to her not to do so, but Samus does anyway. She uses the jets in her suit to get to the pod, opening the pod and freeing Adam, taking him back to the space station safely. This might seem familiar. If you guys know how Adam Malkovich died in the games, this was how he died, or at least somewhere along the lines. He died by sacrificing himself to save the space station, but in this movie, Samus saves him before he dies. Now back to the current story. So once the flashback is over, Adam tells Samus that it's Adam's turn to save Samus's life, and he injects the cure into Samus. The SA-X parasite is finished copying the suit's data, it streams, and it gradually detaches itself from Samus's suit, and Samus's body, which it was trying to seep its way through, and then it slithers away. Samus has lost all trace of the X-parasite, and Adam is amazed. Adam asks Samus how none of the parasite got into her DNA, and Samus tells him that there was already one that got there when she was a child. So that's how Samus was able to make it out, because of the X-parasite that had already bonded with her cells when she was a child. So now at this point, Samus's ship has been repaired, and she prepares to leave SR-388 on that ship with the baby Metroid, but not before the SA-X parasite that bonded with Samus's suit sneaks itself onto her ship with them. The Federation returns to the Ceres space station, and the platoon is sent home, leaving Samus and Adam on the space station, with the SA-X parasite and the baby Metroid still on that ship. Remember, the Metroids are the predators of the X-parasites, so the SA-X parasite doesn't mess with the baby Metroid on the ship. So Samus and Adam walk into the main research center, seeing Ridley standing there with a look of murder in his eyes. Samus immediately gets her arm cannon out and tells Adam to get behind her. She tells him to run, and Samus holds off Ridley while he strikes at her. Ridley tells her that he's not here for Adam, he's here for Samus, and the two of them start their final battle. After a long, grueling battle between them, Samus has Ridley pinned down with her strength, gadgets, and just overall power. Samus demands Ridley to tell her how he found this place, and Ridley chuckles, telling her that there are many secrets that she doesn't know. Samus removes her helmet and tells him to look at the face of the one whose parents he took as she ends her life. Before she has a chance to kill him, Adam speaks up from a control room above where they are. He tells Samus not to kill him, and Samus demands that he gives her a good reason not to. Adam tries to tell her about bringing him to justice and how his being held in captivity could lead to finding the other space pirates, but Samus cuts Adam off by shooting a missile directly at Ridley's face, blowing it up and killing him instantly. Adam screams at Samus, and Samus uses her launchers to fly up and break into the room Adam is in, pointing her arm cannon at him. Samus says, "I told you to give me a good reason." Samus also mentions that Ridley said that there are secrets that she doesn't know, and forces Adam to tell her what Ridley meant by that. And at long last, Adam breaks his demeanor, telling her everything. Alright, this is about to get juicy. He tells her that he never stopped experimenting on the Omega Metroids like he promised her he did. He also explains that Ridley was the one who provided the Omega Metroids to him, helping Adam with his research. So basically, the space pirates were helping Adam research on the Omega Metroids. Adam tells Samus that he does take pity on her after learning the story of Ridley killing her parents, and how he has the same story as her. However, instead of the space pirates killing his parents, Metroids killed his parents, as well as his younger brother. It's Ian, but his name doesn't get mentioned, and how that happened when he was a child. He tells her that he was also raised by the Chozo, and joined the Federation as a commanding officer, given powerful arm cannons, much like Samus's when she was under the Chozo tribe wing. He tells her that he experiments on the Metroids because the energy they provide powers everything, especially when they're dead, including the power of the Ceres planet, and even Samus's power suit. Samus is devastated to learn this, and remembers the baby Metroid still in her ship. He says when he kills Metroids, they give off massive energy, so by taking revenge on the ones who took his family, he can also provide Ceres with energy from the dead Metroids. He says that's why he massacred all of the Metroids on SR-388. Samus, horrified, wants to clarify that it was a team that did that, but no. Adam tells her that he alone killed every Metroid in sight on SR-388. So now is a flashback that shows Adam landing on SR-388 in his space cruiser, getting out and killing every last Metroid that he sees with the powerful energy blast from his little arm things, creating the horrific graveyard that Samus walked into initially at the start of the movie. Ridley shows up and Adam thanks him for the tip, and Ridley says he's glad they can help each other out. Samus, absolutely devastated, asks how Adam could work with the ones who took her family from her, and how he feels such joy killing every Metroid he comes into contact with, even the innocent ones, because remember, not all Metroids are violent. Not in this movie. Adam then asks her how she could empathize with the ones who took his family, so now they're kinda taking revenge on each other. Two similar stories, two sets of similar training could make for a devastating battle. Now, starting their battle, Samus fires an energy blast at Adam, but Adam deflects it with his energy shield that came out of his arm cannon, going back to Samus and knocking her away. He then reveals his arm cannons under his kind of little jacket he's been wearing, shouting at Samus that, of all people, he thought Samus would understand how he feels. He forces Samus to tell him where the baby Metroid is because it's an Omega Metroid, and that he wants to experiment on another Omega Metroid and make it suffer. Brother has been hiding darkness in himself this whole time. He checks her ship, which is parked just outside the facility that they're in, and opens the bay doors. As soon as this happens, the SAX parasite and Samus's ship immediately jumps out and leeches itself onto Adam's face, bonding with his DNA. The suit that the SAX parasite absorbs slowly bonds with his skin, making him a power suit and bonding with his arm cannons as well. And once it's done, Adam has a very sinister looking power suit that looks the same as Samus's suit, but instead the suit is gray, and instead of having a green lens over his face, the lens of his suit is red. So now Adam has gotten himself an X-Parasite fused power suit, which very much rivals Samus's power suit. This dude went all Venom from Spider-Man 3. Samus sees this, putting her helmet back on, and Adam in his new X-Parasite power suit speed blitzes back into the facility and fights Samus. The baby Metroid was hiding from Adam and floats back into the facility where Samus and Adam are fighting. They fight for a while, and they're very much evenly matched, as Adam and Samus have received the same training throughout their lives. Adam and Samus tell each other that there was a time that they would have died for each other, as it was displayed earlier in the movie. Samus saving Adam from the freezing pod, and then Adam saving Samus from the X-Parasite. And finally, the X-Parasite that bonded with Samus in her childhood finally helps her overpower Adam in his suit, and Samus rips off Adam's helmet, revealing his corrupted face from the X-Parasite. The baby Metroid then comes in, attaching itself to Adam's face, and eats it, killing him painfully. He collapses, and Samus is exhausted, mourning Adam's death, with the baby Metroid comforting her. Pretty messed up ending for brother Adam over here. This is how he dies in the cinematic universe, not in the freezing pod. Samus then returns to the planet Ceres and explains to the Federation what happened with Adam on the space station and what he's been working on. The Federation tells her that Adam's experiments have been outlawed and that he must have been working on them in secret. They let Samus and the baby Metroid go in peace, and Samus vows to find an alternative energy source to power Ceres and her suit instead of the energy from the dead Metroids. And with that, epilogue. And now, we got a juicy post-credits scene for you. This one is real good. So, sometime later after this, Samus is seen flying in her gunship. The baby Metroid is not with her right now. It's just her on this mission, and she finds a powerful energy signature coming from a nearby abandoned research facility, which is exactly what she's looking for. She lands on the dock of the facility and pulls up the source of the signature on her power suit, revealing it to be a subspace particle. The same kind of particle that appeared in the post-credit scene of the Legend of Zelda movie. This is just kind of a hologram of it that she's kind of seeing on her arm. Like the particle's right here and she's looking at it. She investigates the inside of the facility and she finds the particle in a pod where she looks at it, revealing that it has a massive energy signature. As she attempts to grab it, three assailants that she has never seen before, not space pirates, troops in the shape of human-sized white hands, ambush the facility. They're the same species as the Master Hand. They ambush the facility, attempting to steal the subspace particle. They crash through the facility, launching the hand troops, Samus, and the subspace particle into space. Samus has her power suit on, so she's good. The particle releases an energy signal, because they just sometimes do that, and it creates two portals. Samus flies into one of the portals, and the subspace particle flies into a separate portal. It does not get revealed where Samus goes, but the subspace particle is seen landing in the Mushroom Kingdom, stranding the hand troops in space. In another scene, Ridley's corpse is revealed back in the Ceres space station, and he gets transported into a portal as well, leading him to a different realm and falling into an ocean, where he makes it to shore on a beach. He washes up ashore, and a person walks over to Ridley's corpse, revealing it to be Ganondorf. And that is the end of the Metroid movie. Guys, I know that did seem kind of fast-paced, and now there's probably nothing but action sequences, because I know good movies all need that balance between action and just kind of like downtime, and this movie just kind of seemed to pile on one thing over the other, so I understand. And remember, these are just plot points. This isn't like the final product, but if there were to ever be a movie on this in the future, these plot points would be the main points of the movie. Just throwing that out there. So everyone, yeah, that was the Metroid movie that I had in mind. Next up, next week, we will be talking about the Pokemon movie. This is the solo movie that I just had in mind. The only movie that I'm not really planning a trilogy for. So be ready for that. So everyone, thank you so much for tuning in to another installment of the Nintendo Cinematic Universe that I had in mind. It means a lot that you guys are supporting these videos. It really does. And I really appreciate it. And yeah, let's keep this going. So everyone, if you enjoyed this video and this installment of this hypothetical NCU, make sure you guys hit the like button normally and subscribe to join the herd. Become a VIP herd member today, and I'll see you guys in the next video.